Okay, so for this week's assignment, we are to talk about teachers of change or teachers as change agents and what the difference is between being a change agent and a technician. We did the module on the Inspire, and the three takeaways I took from this, I actually really liked this. I liked how they talked about the teacher's job was to make the curriculum responsive to the students rather than the students responsive to the curriculum. So I really liked how they talked about that. My three key takeaways. First was I really like how they break down the CRP into three different domains: the content, the methods, and the relationships. I think that all three are very important when you're teaching in your classroom. It's important that we're teaching the content and what's the relevance to the curriculum. It's important that we take a look at our methods and the making our students critically think, involving the students' funds of knowledge, tapping into what the students have interests in, what their past experience may be, and relating that to the lessons. And basically, the methods is just how we teach our lessons, how we teach our students, and making it relevant and interesting for them so that we can engage them fully. Because if it's boring, the students aren't going to retain the information and they're not going to really participate in anything. And the third one is the relationships and showing empathy and connections to the relationships, and not only the relationships with the students, but also with their parents or your families of your students. The second key takeaway was that I didn't know what the difference between, being a technician and being a change agent, and basically what being a technician talked about, just giving the standardized tests, scripted programs, culturally insensitive curriculums, and then the difference between that of being a change agent is to bend our lessons and our curriculum to disrupt the status quo and make it still teaching the content that is part of the curriculum and part of the standards, but making it relevant to our students and kind of shifting our thought to make it responsive to the students. My last key takeaway is how important building relationships with our students are, and it helps us as teachers. So when we can build these relationships and understand our students, what they like, what they don't like, it'll help us understand what interests them so we can plan on how to teach them. The more we can understand what they like, who they are. Some students don't learn the same way as others. So finding a niche to tap into each student so that they can engage and understand what we're teaching them is really important. Some connections. We are to make connections with scholarly literature, and how would I apply these takeaways now or in the future? I feel like every single textbook that I've had, not only from my SEL courses, but also all the courses that I've taken thus far in my national university journey, has kind of given me a lot of information on how to present lessons in the classroom, different methods, different strategies, different tools. And then specifically the SEL textbooks that I've had kind of really help guide you in how to tap into making your students self-regulate, building relationships, making responsible decisions, and how to kind of correlate your lesson plans with the SEL to blend them together to make one. And my favorite takeaway from this is how important the building relationships are. And I think it's important to note that it's not only important to build those relationships with your students, but it's also really important to build those relationships with your parents of your students or your family members of your students. The more you can be on the same page with the families of your students, the better chance you'll have to really tap into your students and help them understand, grow, and build upon their critical thinking skills, their relationship skills, and their SEL skills. So I really liked this module, and I understand it's important as a teacher to teach the curriculum. They need to learn the math, they need to learn the reading, they need to learn, about science things and all of those. But it's also important to bend what you're teaching, shift what you're teaching. If your students aren't engaged, they're not going to retain anything and they're not going to learn and understand. So I think it's really important to be a change agent, and I really enjoyed this module. Thank you for your time.